Call to order the meeting of the Common Council for Tuesday, October 15, 2019. Clerk?
Yeah, it is. He's getting a drink of water. 12 are present, Your Honor.
We're on to the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now we have the invocation led by the Alder from the 8th.
Father, we thank you for watching over this great country. Our founding fathers, in their humility, chose to pray to you before their meetings, acknowledging a higher power and the limit of man's wisdom alone. Let us never forget their crystal clear intent and dedication in seeking your guidance and blessing on all our endeavors. We thank you for the precious gift of life itself, so beautiful and so fragile. Help us, Lord, to breathe compassion and warmth into hearts turned cold. Bestow strength and courage and your loving embrace upon those enticed by the shadowy culture of convenient death dealt to our most innocent. Help us to continue to speak truth in life and treat one another with the love you show us each day. In these things we pray. Amen.
Thanks, Alder. To approval of the minutes.
Second?
Moved by Alder from the 3rd, seconded by Alder from the 7th. Any corrections that need to be made? Seeing no requests, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The minutes have been approved. Approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Alder from the 7th, seconded by Alder from the 1st. Any changes you'd like to make? All right, seeing no requests, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The agenda has been approved. On to the report of the mayor. Not a whole lot here. Just wanted to note, obviously we are in the midst of budget season here, so we are taking things on the road October 24th and October 28th from 7 to 8:30. First meeting will be at Triangle Hill, and the second one on the west side over at Perkins Park. So would invite all of you to participate if available and interested. Of course, spread the word with your constituents and maybe neighborhood associations within your district. Just inviting folks to turn out and learn about the city's budget, offer their input. So that is my report. On to announcements. Alder from the 9th.
Thank you, Mayor. Just two things. One is, I'm sure many of you have been watching in the media. The media's done a really great job of covering the progress of our request for the Harbor Assistance Grant regarding the redevelopment of the Pulliam plant site as well as the relocation of the Sea Rice Coal Terminal. Very happy to report that the State Assembly did approve that measure 69 to 27. It was a bipartisan measure. So thanks to Representative Steffens for his co-authorship of that bill, as well as Representative Stash Grzinski for his advocacy within his caucus to help secure some support there. The Senate is expected to take it up November 5th, and if the Senate passes, it would go on to the governor for his consideration. So I'll continue to update you because I do think it's an important measure for our city. Obviously, this being in the heart of my district is something I've taken a great interest in, but happy to take any questions afterwards if anybody has any. And the other one, Downtown Green Bay right now actually is hosting the Wisconsin Downtown Action Council Summit. So it's a really cool opportunity to see all these folks from across the state come into our city. I participated today in just hearing a lot of really great positive feedback about the progress and momentum within our community, within all parts of it. So I just wanted to report that a lot of visitors from out of town have been very impressed to see some of the progress Green Bay's been making.
Very good. I'll be stopping by tomorrow morning. Alder from the 1st.
Thank you. I would just like to thank Alder Stevens for calling to our attention that this month is Breast Cancer Awareness Month and reminding us to wear pink tonight. He also had that pink ribbon made to display in front of the mayor there, and I really appreciate Alder Stevens for doing that, and I appreciate seeing all the pink. If anyone forgot, I do have a bracelet you could borrow. Thank you.
Thanks, Alder. Alder from the 6th.
Also, I want to thank everyone, breast cancer awareness. I think you all know that I've had breast cancer. In November will be 21 years. I have two sisters that had breast cancer. And cancer is big in my family. We lost a brother to pancreatic cancer and a sister to kidney cancer. So all cancers are important, but yeah, thank everybody for who wore pink, and just remember all those who've gone through it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other announcements? All right, we're on to appointments. Entertain a motion.
Second.
Motion by Alder from the 7th, seconded by Alder from the 1st, to confirm the new appointments of Jim Dubois to the Downtown Business Improvement District and Glenn Sherman to the Economic Development Authority. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and those appointments have been approved. We're now into public hearings. We have 2 items for public hearings. Is there anyone here who would like to speak regarding these items? Anyone here who would like to speak regarding these items? Is there anyone here who would like to speak regarding these items? Seeing no speakers, we will close the public hearing. Clerk, please let the record reflect that no one appeared to speak to these items. We are on to ordinances, second reading for adoption.
You may, under suspension of the rules, take up items 1 and 2 with a roll call vote.
Motion by Alder from the 1st, seconded by Alder from the 7th, to suspend the rules, take up these items with 1 roll call vote. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, the rules are suspended. Motion made by Alder from the 7th, seconded by Alder from the 10th, to adopt items J1 and J2. We will use the board. It's not showing up.
I clicked yes and saved it and went away.
All good. Those pass 12-0. On to the report of the Redevelopment Authority.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Alder from the 7th, seconded by Alder from the 6th, to approve Report K, which is the report of the Redevelopment Authority from the meeting on October 8th, 2019. Any items under this report you wish to handle separately? Any items? Hearing none, all in favor of approving that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Report has been approved. Report of the Improvement and Services Committee.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Alder from the 7th, seconded by Alder from the 1st, to approve Report L, which is the report of the Improvement and Services Committee from the meeting on October 9th, 2019. Any items under this report you wish to handle separately?
Item 4.
Any other items? Item 4 will be handled separately. Hearing none others, all in favor of approving the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and that report has been approved with the exception of item 4. Motion made by Alder from the 7th, seconded by Alder from the 2nd. This item was pulled by the Alder from the 1st. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the reason I pulled this item is that there are some people from my district that would like to speak. But before I ask for the floor to be open, I do want to make a little bit of an explanation of what went on at Improvement and Services, because I don't think everyone maybe had time to watch the video, and I know that there's no one else there except for the 3 of us that were on the committee. So what is happening is that there has been some pretty serious flooding off of Nicolay Drive, just like many of you are experiencing, right, in your districts. Lots of flooding everywhere. And this flooding has come down off the farmland, down onto Nicolay Drive, and then it's really affecting a lot of people. But tonight we're talking about Beach Lane. Beach Lane is an area where a lot of the water is flowing, and at least 4, 5, 6, 7 houses, I'm sure we're going to hear about exactly how many, have been affected very negatively. The county had a meeting that I attended about doing a solution for this, and the solution was going to cost about $850,000. And so at that meeting was the first, we had heard that they were going to be asking the city to pay for half of that. Now, Beach Lane does belong to the city. Nicolay Drive, at that point, even though it's within the city limits, it is a county road from the entry of UW Green Bay all the way out to the end. That is county. So I'm going to ask Director Grenier to explain a little bit about the engineering problem we have going on, and then I'll ask to open the floor, because I want you guys to have a good understanding of what's happening. Director Grenier?
Sure. Well, basically, before human habitation, I guess is the best way to describe it, there were flow patterns that were established by nature where precipitation came down off of the Niagara Escarpment and flowed downhill to the Bay of Green Bay. When County Trunk A, Nicolay Drive, was constructed, that created an impediment to the natural flow of water, which causes water to then dam up. Basically, water rights legislation requires that you cannot, whoever puts that impediment in the way of the water can't adversely affect either upstream or downstream from the impediment. So you can't create a dam and flood out people upstream. You can't rob water from people who live downstream. And as that water pools up behind that impediment, if it then spills over and causes damage to those downstream, that would be the responsibility of the person who created the impediment. In short, that's the situation we're dealing with here. Compounding that issue is how different storm devices are designed. Again, as we've talked about, the city has a design standard which is what we refer to as a 10% probability storm. So the storm has a 1 in 10 chance of occurring in any given storm. And that has a certain amount of water that is associated with it, and that's what our storm sewers are designed to accommodate. County trunk highways use a larger design storm, which is a 1 in 25 chance of occurring. So immediately downstream of a bridge or a culvert under Nicolay, we have a storm sewer, so the county has a bridge or a culvert going underneath Nicolay Drive that will allow a larger amount of water than our storm sewer can accommodate. With that, it is the city's position that because County Trunk A is what, in essence, is causing the problem, that the county should be investigating this and remedying it, not the city. I mean, we're open to discussion, but at the heart of it, that's essentially where we land. So we had that discussion at the Improvement and Service Committee, and the committee recommended that we send this on to the mayor's office so that the mayor and the county exec could further explore what, if anything, could be done out there.
Good. Thanks for that summary.
So at this time, I'd like to make,
Oh, sorry.
at this time, I'd like to make a motion to open the floor.
Motion made by Alder from the first, seconded by Alder from the third to open the floor. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The floor is open. So we have a couple parties that are wishing to speak. Feel free to come forward. And please state your names and address.
Sandra Gillis, address 3359 Beach Lane.
Gary Kozicki, 3359 Beach Lane.
Good, thank you.
So I guess what we're here tonight is to share with you some of the problems that we are having with this flooding. We have been flooded 4 massive floods. We've had 5, there was 4 massive floods that literally surround our entire house. Fortunately, it has not gotten to the height of going into the house other than flooding the basement. We did have one, we do have the dates of these floods, and I'm gonna let Gary start because I wasn't home for this one.
Well, the first one was in, what was it? Oh, March. That was when, the water came over Nicolay Drive. We had a big problem with the snow. And the city was out there with their big payloaders and everything, moving snow, trying to move this, trying to do that. And we had massive flooding. Luckily, I knew people where they could bring in 2-inch pumps into my crawl space to get the water out. We had a couple feet of water. We lost everything in their furnace, water heater, whatever. And the nuns next to us, the sisters own the house next to us, they had water going in one door, going out the other because they're on a slab. They have massive, damage done to their place. So now they have their place sandbagged completely, and we have ours sandbagged completely. Now, we had 4 floods since then. And every time it rains, we get nervous about the water coming over Nicolay Drive, going over, coming down through the park, and then over the park where your culverts aren't sufficient enough to handle the water that's coming down. Because they're neck down. We got a big culvert that goes to the bay, and it's all neck down. It's massively neck down. We had just thought maybe you could put some relief culverts on our street to help, which would be a grant, would really help us. 4 or 5 relief culverts on our street, because everybody on our street is getting flooded, pretty much. So I don't know what else we can do, except for use to help the county to get this fixed. Because when we bought the place 14 years ago, we were not in a floodplain. 4 years after we bought it, they turned it into floodplain. So how are we supposed to know? I don't know what else to say unless Sandy has some more.
Well, in a couple of the major floods that we've had, what we've done, so we had the major flood March 14th. That had a lot to do with the snow melt, and so that was the one that did the most damage to the home. Then we had the July 20th one, another massive flooding. And it's just unreal. At points, I was up to almost my knees in water and just trying to do what I could to divert it away or keep it away from the house, not going into the house. Then we had the September 3rd, we had some very heavy rains. And I remember calling the city to see if we could get some sandbags out there. And at one point, they did bring sandbags on September 11th. And when these storms come, they're just massive, and they come so fast you can't even do anything. And as fast as they come, they go away, and the water recedes. But it's the damage that's done while they're flooding everything. And we have on the east side of Beach Lane, there's one home where they have, the culverts are there, but the water's coming so fast, it doesn't even, it does absolutely nothing. The waters can't drain, and then it just proceeds out to the south and the north and floods the entire road. And we've had homes that are quite a bit higher than we are, and even they lost massive furnishings in their house because they were flooded out. And we don't know what to do anymore. We hear the word rain and we just panic almost. It's just, we're living on pins over there. And one of the, Gary had reverted to the culvert. There's that drain culvert that comes down.
On Nicolay Drive.
Yeah, Nicolay, which goes out into the bay. Well, as of recent, that culvert is 3/4 of the way underwater. So there's no way the water can even drain through that. And then it just proceeds to start flooding everything else. But even, there is a position at 3359 Nicolay Drive, just south of that, there is a portion of the road that had been damaged in the March 14th flood. And that part of the road is still in disarray. It has not been repaired. And the water just flows over that like a waterfall. And it comes down so fast with that park. And then it kind of makes a little turn to the north, which is where we are, and it just proceeds to flood around our entire home. We do have drainage ditches on both sides, north side and south side, but even that, it can't handle it. And this isn't a problem that just, happened overnight. It's been quite some time ago. There was studies done on the drainage system. And so they knew that there are problems. And we've been working with the Brown County with the, problems on the Nicolay side of it. And they have let us know that they have funded money. They have the money ready to go to start improving on the drainage systems for this problem.
But you need Green Bay to step in
Yeah.
and help.
So it's like everybody needs to get on board to get the problems. And it's not just our house that is being, a lot of the other ones have had even a lot worse damage done to their home. Luckily, the water hasn't gotten into our home other than the crawl space. So that was
Appreciate your
fortunate.
testimony. Any questions from the alders? Alder from the 10th.
If anyone does want to see pictures, I do have videos.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming in. You're saying that these floods have happened this year, and you've lived there how long, 14 years? Have you had any other floods at all since, years ago?
We had a few close calls, and the week we moved in, there was flooding way down on the south side of the street. It didn't reach our side, but now it's all coming on our side of the street.
I'm familiar with Beach Lane. Are you on the north end of Beach Lane?
Yes.
North end,
Yeah,
yes.
we're right by the curve.
Okay,
Little curve.
all right. But so this is the worst year, of course. We've had a lot of moisture.
Absolutely.
We've broken records, so we've had issues around the city, not just
Right,
there.
exactly.
It's been very
Yeah.
difficult, but,
Well,
Yeah,
well, we'll
open
see what we.
culverts would be better than culverts
yeah, even the,
itself.
yeah, the culverts just, they can't handle it.
Yeah.
All right, well, thank you.
Any other questions from the alders?
There's somebody else.
Thank you both for your testimony.
Thank you.
William Acker. I live at 3217 Nicolay Drive. I'm also president of my own consulting engineering firm called Acker and Associates. I've lived on Nicolay Drive for 24 years, and over the last 4 years, I've seen quite a bit of problem with respect to rainwater coming down off the fields onto the east side of Nicolay Road. From my viewpoint, the accumulation that I'm seeing in the ditches is from all this water that is coming off those fields, which are, for the most part, farmers' fields. Really worse this year because some farmers weren't able to get their crops in, and so with no crops in there, the water is flowing even worse, developing these valleys of water that they call streamettes, carrying even more water down into the ditch. But in addition to the water with no crops, there is also considerable amount of mud in front of my place. The ditch is basically filling up with mud. So I guess from my viewpoint, this is a problem with respect to the city of Green Bay, the county, the town of Scott, the ag department. These groups all have part in this as far as trying to develop drainage basins and so forth for this accumulation of water that has been accumulating due to the heavier rains that we've seen in the last, let's say, 4 to 6 years. From my viewpoint, it isn't just that the road is impeding the proper drainage. It's all these new streamettes that have developed that are carrying water down onto Nicolay Drive. I'd like to see all these parties that I mentioned involved with better planning for this water, so we don't just develop on the ditch to carry it out, but also all this mud that is going into the bay. And so I'm asking you tonight to support this effort and to try to get all these parties together to formulate plans so all this mud is not going into the bay and that the homes are not being flooded out with just water, but mud all over their yards. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from the alders? All right, very good. Entertain a motion. Motion made by Alder from the 10th, seconded by Alder from the 6th to close the floor. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The floor is closed. I'll just, respond to the item by saying that I'm very happy to have a conversation with County Executive about this item. I think it'd be important, obviously, to involve Director Grenier and Mr. Fontecchio in that discussion. There are jurisdictional issues that need to be respected here, but happy to have a conversation and see what we might be able to come up with. Alder from the 9th.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to Steve, you had talked about at the committee level. I think it was reported publicly that the county is asking for us to fund 50%, but in the communication that you received from them, it was slightly different.
I was not at the meeting that Alder Dorf referenced where that discussion came about. That actually happened, the meeting was held directly opposite one of our Improvement Service Committee meetings, so I was unable to attend. But from what it had been reported back to me, there was a discussion at that meeting whereby the county supervisor in attendance indicated that the county was looking to contribute upwards of $500,000 as opposed to a 50-50 split. So there is some discrepancy in some of the numbers that are being discussed between the city and the county.
Okay. And I just think in the spirit of our directive, I think, was really to have the mayor engage in a conversation with the county executive about this. I feel that the way the report is listed, it's maybe a little bit more aggressive than what I was expecting in terms of where our commitment level would be until we have further dialogue because of the jurisdictional issues. What I want to ensure is that the city of Green Bay is not funding a county project when we have an overabundance of items that need to be taken care of within the city of Green Bay that are very clear where the jurisdictional issues are. Now, I'm very empathetic to the situation that's going on with these property owners, so I do think it's important that the mayor be very expedient in his outreach to the county to resolve that. I would also just point out, I'm trying to recall maybe in some of the dialogue that occurred when the county presented to the redevelopment authority and the city council regarding their plan about the 0.5% sales tax. And one of the points I seem to recall is that some of that funding would be allocated for street repairs, infrastructure repairs that could benefit the city of Green Bay where county roads existed in the city. And so I would encourage the mayor to use that as a talking point when meeting with the county executive, that if we can't resolve the jurisdictional issues, could that possibly be a source of funding that could help resolve this? And so I think the one thing, though, when I look at this item that makes me a little bit uncomfortable is the last piece, which is include the necessary funding in the 2020 budget, because I didn't feel like we, at the committee level, were wanting to take it that far just yet. I think it's really about the directive to have you meet with the county executive. So I would just move to amend the report as it's stated here to eliminate that item. And then I'd be comfortable with the rest in terms of its intent to direct the mayor to work with the county executive on a resolution.
Motion made by Alder from the 9th to amend the item to remove that last clause to include the necessary funding in the 2020 budget. Motion made by Alder from the 9th, second by Alder from the 10th. Any speakers? All in favor of that motion, signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay. Yeah, there's a delay. Alder from the 1st.
Well, I would just, the referral is so that the mayor can have this discussion, and if the discussion works out that we are willing to work with the county, then we'd have to come back and include that funding in the 2020 budget. I don't understand why we'd want to take that out. That's the whole purpose. We're not approving that it's going into the budget. We're approving that the mayor will talk to the Brown County executive. We send it up to the executive level. So I would be opposed to that amendment.
Any additional comments? Alder from the 4th.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm going to have to agree with Alder Johnson, and I certainly feel for these people. I have many people in my district that have been flooded several times this year. They've had a lot of property loss, and same thing. Every time it rains, they're afraid and they're worried. But I also remember that when this half-cent sales tax came through, and there was a lot of pressure on us to approve that, that there was reference to that half-cent sales tax being used to take care of county issues. And although I did not listen to the audio or video from the meeting, but again, if this is the county's responsibility, then I think the county needs to step up. I have no problem with the mayor meeting with them, trying to see what we can work out and whose responsibilities and that. But at the end of the day, we are county taxpayers ourselves. And we're paying into county taxes already for some of these improvements. We have a half-cent sales tax out there that we're paying into. And so I want to be very cautious moving forward that we don't overcommit ourselves to finances that, quite frankly, are looking pretty tight again this year. And so I would be in favor of Alder Johnson's amendment. Thank you.
Any further comments? Yeah. Alder from the 7th.
Yes, I also favor the amendment, just in that even if we do go forward, even if we do it financially, who knows what kind of discussions we'll have. Perhaps this may be a project that takes a couple of years, and the county will have the money to go forward to begin with, and we'd be coming on the back end financially, and it'll be the 2021, 2022 budget. I mean, why put a year on it? Why put any constraints on it as far as the discussion needs to go? It'll go where it goes, and if we end up agreeing to take care of it this year in our budget, then that's what'll happen. I don't think we need to have it in the item, just to have the flexibility to move it around, move those monies around any way that's feasible for us if we go that way. Frankly, I also agree this is a county issue that, again, if the mayor can talk and work out something or other, but financially, I think it really does fall on them. So, thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Speakers are not showing up here, so just wave at me if you need to talk. So we have a motion on the floor to amend the item. It was offered by Alder from the 9th, seconded by Alder from the 10th. All in favor of the motion to amend, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
The ayes have it. The motion has been amended. Entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve is amended?
Motion made by Alder from the 7th, seconded by Alder from the 10th to approve as amended. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The item has been approved. We're on to the report of the Protection and Policy Committee, October 7, 2019.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Alder from the 7th, seconded by Alder from the 2nd to approve Report M, which is the report of the Protection and Policy Committee from the meeting on October 7th, 2019. Any items under this report you wish to handle separately?
2 and 3.
2 and 3. Any others? Items 2 and 3 will be handled separately. Hearing none others, all in favor of approving the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved with the exception of items 2 and 3. And what are your wishes regarding item 2?
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Alder from the 7th, seconded by Alder from the 2nd. The item was pulled by the Alder from the 6th. Alder, you have the floor.
I have a problem with this. We're going to approve, it's not just a cafe, we're approving drinking on the sidewalk. Say it's a cafe. I just don't like this, that we're there's so much alcohol out there, and what are we showing our youth? They're gonna be walking down the sidewalk and people are drinking on the sidewalk. I just have a problem with that. I'm gonna vote no on this.
Thank you, Alder. Attorney Chavez can respond.
Thank you, Mayor. So the Sidewalk Cafe, all it does is extend the area by which a licensed premise is able to serve, which does include alcohol, but it doesn't create a new establishment. All it does is allow them to have people seated outside in the sidewalk area. And so whether or not you ultimately decide to grant this, it doesn't actually change the fact that there is an alcoholic establishment or an establishment serving alcohol within the city. It's literally just allowing them to sit outside while they are consuming their beverages, which is something that last year or the year before this council agreed to allow by adopting the Sidewalk Cafe ordinance for the purpose of allowing people to further enjoy the outdoor experience in Green Bay during the nice months.
Alder from the 4th.
Thank you, Your Honor. Kathy, I'm not sure if you're aware, but we've been granting these all along now for well over a year. There's quite a few establishments now on either side of the near downtown that have these sidewalk cafes. Many of them are restaurants. People get a bite to eat. Maybe they have a glass of wine or a beer with it. But we've been granting these all along, and personally, I don't see any reason to deny these at this time unless there's something extenuating about either of these establishments or the way they operate or anything else. So, thank you.
Alder from the 9th.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to agree with Alder Galvin. I think right now, if there's a fundamental objection to the policy, there's a time and a place to take up the policy. This is not it. To play favoritism towards some businesses and grant them and not grant them towards others is not, I mean, it's a very punitive approach to those businesses who are asking to be permitted to do things that are in compliance with the law. I don't understand that. So, again, I would urge Alder LaFave that if her objection is to the permits themselves, take that up at committee. But I think it would be very hypocritical for us to grant some and not others when there's no reason to withhold that permit.
Thank you, Alder. Alder from the 7th.
I would just like to add that at committee, we did look at these businesses. There's no reason to deny them. They're well-run. They're good businesses, and they just want to join in with our policies, which has been to promote an outdoor cafe atmosphere and a more walkable, pedestrian-friendly downtown. So I support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Any further comments? Seeing no other requests to speak, all in favor of the motion to approve, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The item has been approved. We're on to item 3.
Second.
Motion made by Alder from the 9th, seconded by Alder from the 7th to approve. Any comments? All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The item has been approved. We're on to report N. Item N, report of the Protection and Policy Committee granting operator licenses. Motion to approve made by Alder from the 7th, seconded by Alder from the 5th. To approve report N, which is the report of the Protection and Policy Committee granting operator licenses. Any names for which you'd like to be recorded as abstaining? Any names under this report you wish to handle separately? Hearing none, all in favor of the report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved. On to item O, report of the Plan Commission.
Motion to approve.
Motion made by Alder from the 7th, seconded by Alder from the 1st to approve report O, which is the report of the Plan Commission from the meeting on October 7, 2019. Any items under this report you wish to handle separately? Hearing none, all in favor of approving that report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved. On to item P, report of the Park Committee. Motion made by Alder from the 7th, seconded by Alder from the 2nd to approve Report P, which is the report of the Park Committee from the meeting on October 9, 2019. Any items under this report you wish to handle separately? Hearing none, all in favor of approving that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved. On to Q. Motion made by Alder from the 7th, seconded by Alder from the 1st to approve Report Q, which is the report of the Personnel Committee from the meeting on October 8, 2019. Any items under this report you wish to handle separately? Any others? Item 3 will be handled separately. Hearing none others, all in favor of approving the remainder of that report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved with the exception of item 3. Motion made by Alder from the 1st, seconded by Alder from the 7th to approve. Alder from the 12th. Pull the item. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. I watched the committee discussion. It was a good discussion, albeit a short discussion. And I'm not of the opinion that, I'm not sold on the idea that this is necessary. And so what I was wondering is if the HR director or anyone involved with this could explain a little more what led to this policy change and why it's necessary at this point to move forward.
Yeah, you bet. Director Faulds.
Yeah, sure. So this policy came from the HR department and the mayor's office, and I think that it's necessary because it shows the city and our employees that we care about diversity and inclusion. So I think that's the main reason behind it, and also it shows candidates that we set up support groups for diverse candidates that we have.
Okay. And thank you for that explanation. I'm looking at it right now as more of a cost to establish such a policy and the amount of time it would take to create ERGs within our employee groups and to maintain them. So I'm looking under City of Green Bay Personnel Policy, the third attachment in the agenda, and under 32.3, where it says establish, bear with me, Mayor, I'm just going to read through this because I think it points to a rather intensive amount of staff time to create an establishment of an ERG. But under 32.3, it says to establish an ERG, to be formally recognized as a city-supported ERG, the ERG must have the following. A, an approved application by the Human Resource Department, followed by an ERG charter developed by the group. The charter should include a formal governance structure, including a mission statement, defined roles and responsibilities, and a clearly defined goals and initiatives. ERG charters will be approved by Human Resources. Then in Part B, a documented recruitment plan, including strategies to introduce new and current employees to the ERG and the city's organizational culture. C, well-documented strategies to seek the support of a management level, sponsor, or ally who will be available to provide guidance and support and who will serve as an advocate and share information with leadership. D, rules that document efforts to ensure that meetings and events are open to any city employee who wishes to attend. E, activities that are aligned with the goals established within this policy for the city and not a specific department, section, or work group. And F, rules of conduct that require members to operate in a supportive, inclusive, and respectful manner towards each other and towards other ERGs. My concern with this is that it really points to a rather time-consuming activity to, one, establish these and maintain it. So my question to Human Resources, whoever wants to answer, how much time do you estimate that this will take of our existing employee base to create these ERGs and to maintain them consistent with the policies laid before us?
Dr. Faulds?
So I think these were supposed to start January 1st, 2020 if they're approved. And if you look at the next two attachments, there is an employee resource group application. And then after that, there's a template for the charter for the ERG. So I think for those two, for the application and the charter, it should not take very much time. You can see that it's a lot of filling in the blanks for that, for both the application and the charter. And I think from there, I would expect ERGs to have a meeting maybe every month or maybe every quarter or every 3 months. And I think it might take them 1 or 2 meetings to fill this out completely and have approval from the HR department. So maybe 1 or 2 hours to get started, and then maybe 1 hour a month. And I think that would probably be pushing it, maybe a meeting every 2 or 3 months.
Okay. Another question too regarding the time that our employees will use, which honestly will divert their efforts to their job duties as they currently read, and that providing services to the public and taxpayers of the city of Green Bay. Under membership eligibility and operation, it says participation in a ERG or ERG sponsored activity during the employee's regularly scheduled work hours is permitted, provided that such participation does not conflict with the employee's work responsibilities or the service delivery needs of the department. I would argue that by participating in ERG and not doing the job for which they were hired to do does in fact take time away from their work responsibilities. Any comment on that? Like, make me feel better about voting for this if that's what I do, that we are thinking that this is a good use of our staff time.
Director Foltz?
So I think the first thing we're going to try and do is encourage our ERGs to meet over lunch hours or before and after work. And then from there, I think the benefits of the ERGs to improve morale and even improve the processes of the city, I think will outweigh the 1 or 2 hours every few months that they're putting into this.
You mentioned in the committee meeting that you don't anticipate more than 10 ERGs. Did I hear that correct?
I don't remember if I said 10. I probably did. It's on the tape if you saw it. But I would think we're going to start out with maybe 2 to 3 in the first year and then go from there.
I think the comment of it was, perhaps I took it out of context, but Alder Galvin mentioned, what if, an employee fits 10 different groups that, are we going to allow or encourage them to participate in 10 different ERGs? Thank you for answering those questions, Director Faulds. I do have a question for, I guess, the police chief. In the September employee newsletter, Celestine Jeffries wrote an article in the employee newsletter, and she indicated that the Green Bay Police Department currently does have an ERG. Chief, could you explain what that ERG does, any activities that they participate in, whether it's a good thing for your department or any struggles that you have in managing it?
Yes, sir. I think it's a good thing for our department. I think it demonstrates our department is open to all members of our community, regardless of their orientation, where they are, and things of that nature. We asked for volunteers. We got a handful of people that wanted to be a part of it. Some volunteered because they had relatives that were part of the LGBT community. Others were members themselves. Others were just interested in participating. We've had several meetings so far. The meetings usually last a half hour, 45 minutes. We encourage them to attend the Pride Alive fair that was held recently. I attended that along with 2 officers who were working. They were doing a booth there. And there's other events that throughout the community that we encourage them to attend. With the exception of one individual who had to come in from an off watch, all people were on their regular duty day. And a detective came up from downstairs. A couple of our mental health officers came in from whatever they were doing, attended the meeting, then got back to work. So I don't think it had an impact on our day-to-day operations, but I think it demonstrated to our LGBT employees as well as the community our commitment to accepting diversity and welcoming it and treating everybody fairly.
Okay. Thank you, Chief. One other question. Now, the ERG that you have within your department, is that currently just simply within your department, or do other employees from the city's different departments participate?
We started it on our department, and I know Celestine comes to our meetings. I can't recall anybody from any other departments attending the meetings that I've been in. And again, we've only had a couple meetings and only been doing it for a couple months now.
Okay, thank you.
Sir.
Really not trying to be provocative in how I'm laying this out. The point that I'm trying to make is I'm not convinced that they're needed to the extent that we're glossing over the amount of time that this potentially could take from our staff doing the duties that they are hired to do. So what I would recommend until we see the budget and work through that process. I'm not ready to, assign away some of the time required by our employees to do the jobs they're hired to do. Although this could be a very good thing, I'm currently not convinced that we're ready for it without knowing what the budget looks like. So I'd like to make a motion to hold this item until January 1st, 2020.
A motion made by Alder from the 12th, seconded by Alder from the 9th to hold the item until January 1st. Alder from the 1st.
Thank you. So I'm very much in support of the employee resource groups. I like how the first line of the memo starts. The city's vision is to be a model municipal employer by leveraging diversity and fostering inclusion to deliver the best public service. Anyone who's been a part of an organization, who's worked in a large organization, knows that there's more than just coming to work, sitting at a computer and doing your job. There's the climate, there's the culture, there's working in a place where you feel welcomed and accepted. And I believe strongly that people who do feel welcomed and accepted and cared about for who they are do a better job. It's natural for a person who feels good about what they're doing in a place where they feel safe and where they feel supported, that they would naturally do a better job. I think that this can only help our city. We need a more diverse employee group of employees in this city. We need to attract millennials. We need to continue to grow the diversity. And I think this is just a very basic and very inexpensive way to support people and to help them to feel like they really belong and they're really doing a job for the city and that they're appreciated for who they are and what they represent. So I will be voting against holding it. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Alder from the 4th.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask Alder Burnett, how do you think the budget, or what in the budget do you think we're going to see that affects your decision whether to support this or not?
Not knowing the budget currently, whether there will be a required reduction in FTEs or full-time employees or staff hours. A lot of city departments we're told they're understaffed or overworked, and any hour that takes away from an employee to do their job would then create a void within that department. So if we're facing a budget where we have a reduction in FTEs, stands to reason that we shouldn't, have employees do these sorts of activities if it means that a constituent doesn't get a service or return phone call as soon as they really should.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that explanation. I will say, though, I had my concerns at committee, and I certainly voiced those, not necessarily for some of the same reasons you were, but, again, concerned about staff time and things like that. But the examples given by Director Falls, I guess, convinced me that this is something that I think the city should really explore and get involved with. There's a lot that I think the city can do with this to promote itself. And, we always hear millennials, but I think not just millennials. I mean, anybody of any age with certain interests and things like that could be attracted to come here. Even people with a certain amount of seniority with the places where they're employed right now might think that this is a place to come, and we certainly would embrace someone that has a lot of experience in whatever field they're in. So I'm going to support this right now. I'm not going to support delaying it or holding it until after the budget. I think this is something that we should pursue now and start getting it into place. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Alder from the 9th.
Thank you, Mayor. I think it's clear to point out that I think a vote in support of holding this isn't saying no. I think let's give ourselves a little bit more time to explore this and learn a little bit more. And I do agree with Alder Dorff that that's a great vision to have for the city. We should aspire to that. And I think maybe where my questions come into play is whether or not this is the policy that's going to deliver that for us. I don't know if it is or not, but I do maybe have a couple of questions for Director Faulds, and if you could maybe just walk me through what exactly is the objective of the ERGs other than to create a group of people who have similar interests to feel safe and welcome?
Well, I think it's really so our employees can be heard, valued, and engaged. And if you look at 32.2 in the policy statement, it talks about, helping the city recruit a diverse workforce, create an open forum for people to exchange ideas so they can talk about the work environment, but also talk about better serving the public. It's to help empower employees and develop leaders. I think when it's a voluntary employee group where these employees are going to improve their skills in the workplace by leading these meetings and talking to each other. So I think there's a lot of benefits that the city can see from this.
So you would anticipate, if I read one of the statements correctly, that they would do this on their own time? Is that correct?
They would have the option to do this on their own time, and they would not be paid for that, or they can have meetings that they'll set up either once a month or, every other month, something like that, they'll get approval from HR and their supervisors to attend those meetings, and HR will work with them to make sure that they're picking the right times to meet so it doesn't affect our service to the city.
Okay, so when we talk about, I thank you for answering the question about the objectives. Are there any particular outcomes that we're looking to achieve from this?
I think it's kind of...
Or is it really just to get together and talk?
Well, I think it's more than that. I think it's to help improve, morale, the culture. I think Alderdorf talked about that. I think it's also to learn about better ways to recruit the workforce. And I think the beauty of the ERG is that, if I had the answers for you right now, then we won't need ERGs. But we're looking for information that our employees see that management might not see.
So is there anything that currently prevents this from naturally occurring without policies and procedures to dictate how it should occur?
I don't think there's anything that prevents it from occurring on an informal basis, probably outside of work time. But I think during work time, there needs to be a policy set up to make sure that everyone's included, to make sure we're not violating the law or anything like that.
Okay. You had mentioned that it would help communication between departments, and do we currently have trouble with departments talking to each other?
I would answer that as I think most organizations have that, the issue of having silos with departments. I think we can work on that. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a huge issue, but I think it's something we need to work on just like any other organization.
Okay. Do you anticipate that all departments would participate in this, including police, fire, public works? Hourly employees? Everyone's invited to, stop patching potholes, come to City Hall?
Everyone would be included, everyone would be invited, and I would hope that every department is included in this.
Yeah. I guess I'm trying to wrap my brain around maybe the difficulty or ease for certain individuals in different departments to be able to participate in something like this. Clearly, if you have a job at City Hall, it would be probably a lot easier to participate in something like this. If you're, again, patching potholes, right, to come over the lunch hour to do this might be a little bit more challenging and difficult. In which case, then I would ask the question if, in fact, we truly are being inclusive, if it's not something that's easy for staff to participate in. How many people does the city of Green Bay employ total?
It's usually around 950 to 1,000.
Okay. How many of those are at City Hall?
Ooh, I think it's around 200.
Okay. And do you have any experience in terms of how many, companies that have ERGs?
Mm-hmm.
Is there like a size target, hey, once we get to this number of employees, it makes sense for us to do this?
I'm not aware of that. I'm not sure. I think it could be for any organization, so I'm not sure if it's large or small.
Okay. And I think for me, that's really where I'm going with this. I'm not convinced that it's a bad thing. I'm not convinced it's a great thing, but I do think it's worthwhile for us to buy a few more months to maybe get answers to those questions. How has this worked with other organizations, other employers, other governments that have implemented something like this, and how has it served not only the organization and the staff, but the taxpayers in return? So I would support holding until we can maybe further explore some of those questions.
And Alder Johnson?
Yes.
The city of Milwaukee they do have ERGs.
Okay.
Anything further?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Alder from the 7th?
Thank you, Your Honor. I don't support holding this. I don't see any purpose for it. For a budget, I mean, it's stated in the policy, it cannot interfere with their work. I mean, if our police department, which is missing 14 boots on the ground, can find the time to do this, I don't see how it's going to be difficult for anybody else. And as our director mentioned, we're not reinventing the wheel here. This has been around for a little bit here. Other organizations are doing it. From all I've been able to tell, there hasn't really been a downside or a negative side. It may not be perfect, as any policy is not perfect, but to hold it up to make it perfect, which it never will be, is, I just don't see the point. We should be going forward, tweaking it as we need to go to tweak it, to make it as inclusive as we can, and I just don't see any reason why we'd hold this up. It's not going to affect the budget. It's not going to, we're not going to learn anything that we're not going to learn getting going, and, because even if we look at other organizations, which I believe we have in putting this together, that's where we came up with the forms and everything else for this. Who knows how it's going to be with our organization? You got to get your feet wet to find out. So let's start it, get the ball rolling. So I support getting going right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Alder from the 10th?
Thank you, Your Honor. Director Falls, I was just going to ask, is this time sensitive for any reason? I mean, we're talking about holding this, but do you see any problem with that?
Well, I did say that we want this to start January 1st.
Right.
I do think knowing tomorrow that we're going forward with it would actually help HR begin to educate our employees and supervisors on how to handle it. Waiting probably till mid-November, I mean, it's gonna,
Okay.
I guess we don't want to waste our time educating employees on ERGs if we're not going to pass it, but at the end of the day, it's not as time sensitive
Okay.
as other items.
Well, I've heard both sides on this, and both sides have brought up some very good points. Alder Burnett and Alder Johnson do have some concerns on this, and I do too a little bit. I think that it needs to be fleshed out just a little bit more. I know some of the other people think that we already have this done. We already have done all the research that we've needed to do on it. I don't see the harm in it for 2 more months, so I will support Alder Burnett on this. Thank you.
Alder from the 12th?
Thank you, Mayor. Alder Scannell, you had a point that it's not perfect, and I would agree it's far from perfect. So that to me says that some of the language in this proposal just doesn't sound right to me, that there's some holes that need to be filled.
Clarification, if I may, since you used my words, I want to make sure it's that no policy is going to be perfect. I think what we have here is perfectly fine, but that no policy is going to be perfect in its execution. No policy can be. It's not a perfect world, but I think what we have here is perfectly fine for moving forward, so please.
Yeah, I apologize. I didn't mean, if I misquoted you,
I'm not.
Alder from the 12th has the floor.
Yeah, so I kind of equivocate this to the volunteer time off policy. This was proposed, if you recall, it was 24 hours. Public outcry was pretty intense. Many people here, before we had the outcry from constituents, thought that it was a policy that was well-intentioned and worded well. Well, lo and behold, the people who we answered to said, nope, we're not gonna have our taxpayer dollars go so people can volunteer at nonprofits. As noble and well-intentioned as those ideas were, that's what we heard from the public. So then it went down to one day. Went to the committee, informational item, and we haven't seen it since. I don't know if it's just disappeared or if it's going to come back, but these are the things we hear from our constituents. So Alder Scannell, what I was getting at when I mentioned your name is that the idea that no policy is perfect, this is far from perfect. If anything, I don't think it's near where it should be. And I keep going back to this 32.4, and if you parallel this to with the volunteer time policy, it says participation in an ERG or ERG-sponsored activities during the employee's regularly scheduled work hours is permitted, provided that such participation does not conflict with the employee's work responsibilities or the service delivery needs of the department. This does interfere with it directly. I mean, we're basically having our employees not perform the tasks that they were hired to do before this policy was even introduced, and now we're going to allow them to go forward with an ERG, no matter how noble or well-intentioned it is. I'm not disputing that it may not be a good idea. I think they are reasonable and we should consider them, but to move forward with this language, it's not clean enough. I mean, there are a lot of things that are not adding up, in my opinion. So that's why I said let's refer it back, similar to the time off policy, to volunteer. Same thing. I mean, we need to work on some of this language. I did some research on ERGs. I wasn't too familiar with them. I've been in the corporate world, in manufacturing, been in government, been in nonprofit. Wasn't too familiar with ERGs, but they also go by the name affinity groups. And there are a lot of organizations that have ERGs. From what I understand, they originated in the 1960s. And each organization I've kind of researched ebbs and flows. Some organizations and HR professionals says, great idea, this is exactly what we need. Others say, well, they've run their course and the output, what we intended for them to do, wasn't exactly what we got. So that's again, not trying to be provocative, but there are many holes in this policy, and I'm not going to vote for something until we see how our budget comes out, to see if we can divert our staff from tasks that the taxpayer expects them to do to move forward with something like this. And again, not saying it's not a good idea or that the police department's team isn't doing good things, but I would argue there are some people that say 14 police officers short instead of in a employee resource group, maybe they should be out on the street doing patrols. I'm just saying those are sorts of things that people in the public would say, and I'm not undermining the police chief or his department. They want to run an outstanding department, but we answer to the public, and for every one opinion one direction, there's another opinion the other direction. So that's why I really encourage us to hold for a few months and really think about this from all perspectives before we move forward with something without giving it a second thought. Thank you.
Alder from the first.
Thank you, Your Honor. So I'm on the Personnel Committee, and it's very helpful when people give us feedback or show up to the meetings to give us feedback. All I'm hearing right now, though, if we simply had these groups meet during lunch before or after work, there wouldn't really be any objection. Is that a simple enough change so that everything else, is there any other problem with having these? Maybe we could start them out and just have them before and after work or during lunch. I guess I would like to also know if there are other concerns, that they be brought to personnel, sent to personnel in writing so that we can discuss them. If there are other questions, if this does end up getting held, which I hope it doesn't. But I would ask the alder from the 12th if we just had them initially start out before or after work or during lunch.
Alder, you care to respond?
I think that's a good idea. It doesn't state in the policy as written, though, so if you offer an amendment to that effect, I feel more comfortable with the proposal. But again, there are a lot of parts of this
There's more.
policy that you would have to clean up an awful lot of it, and that's why I said let's hold it for a bit.
So there's more.
Yeah, there's.
It's not just
Well,
that.
I mean, in regards to duties and when and how employees are going to participate, yeah, there's it's mentioned in several different parts of this.
Okay, thank you.
Alder from the seventh.
Yeah, I would just like to state that I don't see how the budget is going. You're not going to find a line item in this, and the FTEs I don't think are going to be helpful either. I mean, staff takes time now to plan a birthday party, retirement party, for a baby, new babies. There is time in our day where we take time to smell the roses, I mean, it's not all nose to the grindstone. It can't be. No organization can be that way. So I don't see how, again, with the policy as stated, they're not going to be able to meet unless the supervisors and HR approves that time. And so a time will be worked out that's not going to interfere with their work. And as far as outcomes, we can't foresee outcomes. We can't make policies for outcomes. We got to try this out, and as the outcomes will be what they be. If it turns out that we do this and it doesn't build inclusion and help make our organization better and help make our city better, well, then we can set it aside. But we're not going to know that until we work it out and get going on it. I just don't see why there's a need that the way the language is written and the way we would be working this out, I just don't see a problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Alder. Any further comments? All right. Seeing no further comments, we have a motion on the floor to hold the item until January 1st. We'll use the board on that. The motion on the floor that has been seconded was to hold the item.
I guess I do have one more comment.
Yes, Alder from the 4th.
I apologize. I would ask Alder Burnett, you want us to hold it to what end? Budget only? Or if the budget shows that it can support it, then are you going to come back and then say, well, there's wording within the policy? So I guess if your motion is to hold it to look for the budget, fine, but if your motion is to hold it and there's going to be more, then.
Motion's to hold till January 1st. Motion on the floor.
No, I thought we were holding it to wait and see what the budget was like. Okay.
That's the motion,
All right.
yep.
I apologize. All right, thank you.
All right, we're going to use the board. What's your vote? No. Panel's a no. The motion ties 6-6. I'm going to break the tie against the motion. Motion fails. So the item on the floor is to, or the motion on the floor is to approve the item. Has been approved. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay.
Can I have it recorded, please?
You bet. Roll call has been requested. Alder from the 7th. Very good. We do have a tie vote, and I'm going to vote in favor, and motion passes. So we are on to our report of the Sustainability Commission.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion made by Alder from the 7th, seconded by Alder from the 3rd. Approve Report R, which is the report of the Sustainability Commission from the meeting on October 9, 2019. Request to hold item 1. All right, so Alder from, what? All in favor of, no, sorry. Motion made by Alder from the 7th. No, probably not. Alder from the 8th has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I could perhaps ask staff for a brief summary, obligations, expectations that we're looking at with this.
Very good. Ms. Jeffries?
So the Green-Tailed Legacy resolution, there are some things that Law Department needs to look at. This item was actually passed by the Sustainability Commission last year and has not been looked at by another committee. And so in order for the City Council to properly consider it, it needs to go to Commission Protection Policy that can look at all of the parameters that would be necessary for us to say yes to this. There are other communities in Wisconsin that have said yes to it, but that's
hopefully that answers your question, Mr. Wary.
So should we refer this to protection and policy, because on the agenda, is it just referring it, because, maybe I read it wrong, that happens.
It does say for approval. Would you be more comfortable with for consideration?
I think so. And just to give you my brief explanation here, if you do some research into it, the, DNR, Wisconsin DNR set this up purely as an environmental program to, encourage people who are really doing well in protecting the environment to get some incentives, help with application processes, maybe more funding to keep doing what they're doing. The charter that we'd be signing on to, however, takes it a step further and really adds in other things that I think the DNR hadn't expected. And so I would want us to look at that. It would be under bullet point 1, where it talks about to assist the city of Green Bay in achieving superior environmental performance in both of the following areas, water resource management and sustainability practices. But then it goes on to say, and goals relating to economic development, public health, and social equity. And it's those last two, public health and social equity. What does that mean? And if you look at the Green Tier Legacies website, it kind of gets into some things that are really policy issues. Homelessness and, having these health meters of how healthy our community is and having to submit all kinds of reports on that. There's a lot more. I can see why some cities questioned if they wanted to go into this, because it's not just the cut and dried, we want to do better for the environment, which we all do, that's great. But there's that other part that looks a little more amorphous that we need to look at. So I would hope that the committee looks at that further. Thanks.
Thank you, Alder. Alder from the 11th.
I think they answered some of my questions. I just want to know what kind of, in other words, I think if it goes back to committee, it's going to be vetted out and we'll have more information.
Right.
And we can find out if there's a fiscal impact as far as, if they adopt the policies. So I think that would be great if they bring it back and amend it as Alder Wary requests, as far as, in other words, not for approval, but for back to their committee. Thank you.
Very good. Alder from the 8th.
I did have a question for staff, and I couldn't find it in the DNR website. Can a city just be a member at the level, there's levels, Tier 1, Tier 2, and then the charter? Can a city just be in Tier 1 or Tier 2? Maybe that, if we don't know, that's something the committee can look at.
Ms. Jeffries.
Okay, because then we wouldn't have to sign on to the charter and all those other requirements that really have maybe little to do with the environment. So that's something the committee should look at.
Okay, Ms. Jeffries.
No, that's it, yes. And, I think that it's the desire of the Sustainability Commission to help the City Council weigh all of these issues for us to become a more sustainable, resilient community.
As regards to the environment? Okay, thanks.
Any further comments? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Did you want to amend this at all?
I would like to make that amendment that you proposed, Mr. Mayor. What was that for consideration?
For consideration?
Yeah.
Okay,
For
motion
not
is,
for approval, for consideration. I'll make that amendment.
Second.
motion has been made to forward the Green Tier Legacy Community Resolution to Protection and Policy for consideration. The motion has been made by the Alder from the 8th, seconded by Alder from the 7th. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We're on to S, which is the report of the Tax Incremental Districts Joint Review Committee, September
Motion to
27th,
approve.
2019. Actually going to entertain a motion to receive and place on file, as these
Motion to receive and place on file.
are all informational. So the motion has been made by Alder from the 7th, seconded by Alder from the 1st, to receive and place on file Report S, which is the report of the Tax Incremental Districts Joint Review Committee from the meeting on September 27, 2019. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. We are on to T, receive and place on file.
Motion to receive and place on file.
Motion made by Alder from the 7th, seconded by Alder from the 1st, to receive and place on file the building permit report in 2019. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving, placing that report on file, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been received and placed on file. Entertain a motion on municipal court.
Motion to receive and place on file.
Motion made by Alder from the 7th, seconded by Alder from the 5th, To receive and place on file the municipal court report for September 2019. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approving that report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been received and placed on file. Under resolutions.
You may, under suspension of the rules, adopt ordinances 1 through 4 together with one roll call vote.
The motion has been made by Alder from the 7th, seconded by Alder from the 10th to suspend the rules to take up these items with one roll call vote. All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The rules are suspended.
Motion to adopt? No. Yeah.
Resolutions 1 through 4. Motion made by Alder from the 7th, seconded by Alder from the 1st to adopt resolutions 1 through 4. Please use the board. Good luck. Alder Vanderleest? Okay. No, we're good. Was passed 12-0. On to ordinances first reading. Entertain a motion to advance items 1 and 2 to a second and final reading. Motion made by Alder from the 3rd, seconded by Alder from the 7th to advance. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it, and they have been advanced to the final reading. On to referral of petitions and communications. Nothing? All right, on to adjournment. Motion has been made to adjourn by Alder from the 7th, seconded by Alder from the 3rd. To adjourn, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. We're adjourned.